Hey guys, Drutter here. It's the 16th of March 2018 and I'm sitting here in my living room listening to an 80s mix once again. Never really been a fan of the 80s music, but I grew up in the 80s. I never listened to any music back then in the 80s. I was a sheltered kid. We didn't really have a lot of music. I maybe saw MTV on the TV a couple of times and saw some old Madonna and Michael Jackson and stuff like that, but really we didn't get to see a lot of music videos or listen to a lot of popular music except when I was out in the car with my dad. So all the Corey Hart and all that stuff from the 80s, man, when I hear that it's like boom. Driving in the car with dad again. But anyway, that's not what I was here to talk about. This is a good mix, so it's really nicely, each song's nicely mixed into the next track. Why I listen to 80s music lately is I'm trying to get kind of in that mood, in that mode, in that energy of thinking about when things used to make sense. And that's, for me, the last time things kind of made sense. In the world, in society, in Canadian culture. It's different now. I'm different, of course, so it's hard to really put it all into context. I was a kid in the 80s, growing up. But yeah, it was a different time. And I never thought I would want to go back to the 80s, but I do. Not necessarily for the music, but some of it wasn't all bad. And the hairstyles were pretty rockin'. But in the 80s, that's when the system, money and currency and things really made sense to me last. And I think for a lot of people who are older, it would have been earlier than the 80s, maybe the 70s or 1970 or so, before the US took the world off the gold standard, for example. I know I was never alive in 1970. I haven't lived in a time where there was a gold standard. I remember silver coins in my change as a kid. About half were silver and half were nickel. Well, I guess there was some copper in there. Copper, nickel, and silver. That was in my pocket. A handful of coins was copper, nickel, and silver bullion. And now it is steel, little steel discs that are painted to look like silver and copper, and little plastic notes that are backed by nothing and redeemable only in certain places that accept them, and certain machines and certain people that will accept them. But the times are a lot different now, obviously. Times are changing. We're sitting here in front of my lovely little pink Kush girls. I don't know if you can call them seedlings anymore. But yeah, times are changing in Canada, around the world. But what is going on with this world? I don't think that it's working properly. For example, my wife has been struggling with a mass in her abdomen or pelvis area for 6 years. She's had symptoms. And we've known that she is at high risk for secondary cancers because she had cancer as a child all through her spine, and she maxed out on the amount of conventional therapies, radiation and such that she can have. So they basically burned her to a crisp, and they fused her spine with rods and pieces of bone and stuff. So she is severely crippled and in pain all the time. And but now she has this mass growing in her abdomen, and it's most likely secondary to all the radiation and chemicals she's been given in her life. So I find it really not fair that 6 years later we're still struggling for a diagnosis on this, what we believe is probably a tumor. And it's probably only through the heavy use of vaporized and edible forms of cannabis that she is still alive right now. And it's just shameful to me, that we've had to basically bankrupt ourselves to make that happen, for one thing. And we've become activists to try and change the world so that our world is more conducive to a world where we can get medicine and stay alive. We're constantly doing activism, and we're called losers for that. We're called losers for not having money or not having a conventional, income. We do a lot of work, we do a lot of good, and we improve the world around us. So at some point, that's going to have to be recognized, and we're going to have to be, not paid for that, but acknowledged at least, that we've been contributing and that we've been improving lives and saving lives even. I've been told many times that I've saved people's lives through my activism. Many times. And you know that if people have told you a few times, that it's happened more than a few times, because not everybody comes back and tells you how you infected them, right? So I believe in what I do. I think that there's value in what I do. And Medicaid as well. She's a hardcore activist and puts all of her heart into it. Except the only thing that comes first is her own health, and she is desperately trying to save her life. And we don't get any airtime for this. No one wants to hear the story. No one believes the story, even though we've got 100% proof. We've been doing vlogging basically about it for years, and it's all documented, but no one wants to look at it. They'll just tell you it's not true. They won't look at your evidence. So it's really frustrating. And there's just no coverage for any of these small stories like this. So we're just falling through the cracks again. They tell you in Canada that you have free health care and that you have the best health care in the world. She is still not diagnosed with this mass. She's had multiple scans of different kinds, ultrasounds and many MRIs, CAT scans. There's almost no scans that she hasn't had, and just pointed at various different parts of her, and specialists seen, and they are just constantly dropping the ball. Constantly. It's 6 years in, and we're no closer, literally no closer, to diagnosing it. It's so frustrating. And you must be saying, well, there's got to be help for people like this. I mean, they're just not taking it. There's got to be help. There is not. We have looked down every alley and avenue. And if you know of someone that's offering real help out there, go for it. But those phone numbers and things, those helplines and stuff, a lot of those phone numbers have been changed. Or if you do get through to something, they say, oh, this is our answering machine, leave a message. Or they say, we have a new number, it's over here. You go to that, it tells you a website. The website doesn't work. They're all dead ends. They're all just made to look like there's services for people, and there's not. Oh, there's got to be. No, there isn't. So we're just tired of it. We're just tired of being told that there's services when there isn't. Her GP, let's just say, her GP has, not one GP, but multiple GPs. Her GPs have, say, misdiagnosed. Her GPs have forgotten to fax something and delayed treatment for months. Her GPs have neglected to follow up on something and delayed things. Her GPs have forgotten to prescribe something when they should have. Her GPs have prescribed the wrong things when they were meant to prescribe something else. Her GPs have gone on long vacations suddenly and left her in pain and without any care. Her GPs have referred her off to specialists who do nothing except say, this is not a specialist thing, go back to your GP. One of them retired, one of them quit, one of them told her she was too much trouble, like he couldn't handle all her needs. She's just been, there's no help. There is no help unless you have money. And she is disabled, severely disabled. And we just don't have the kind of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars that it takes to get proper treatment. And we've been told by many doctors that, sorry, that's just how it is. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but that's how it is. You got to have money, and you got to buy proper treatment here in Canada. That really is how it is. And people say, oh, I'm going to go to Canada. They come from all around the world to come to Canada and take part in our wonderful healthcare system. Well, it may be better than some places, but it's not what they say. Just believe me. I've been part of it. I've worked in it for 10 years. I know the healthcare industry inside and out, literally. So, anyhow, maybe I need to have a dab, eh? This is pretty stressful stuff. But, I like to turn on the camera sometimes and just talk about what's going on. Sometimes stuff comes out in a way that you couldn't have planned or whatever, so maybe you got something from this. I don't want to rant on and on. I can do these kind of videos all the time, easy. But maybe I'll just close it up with talking a little bit about what we do plan to do that's more positive. Because, you know, like I said, we aren't getting the help that we feel that we deserve, or that, you know, that should be available to someone in 2018 in a civilized country. You know, I think that care would have been a lot better even 50 years ago. Maybe medicine hadn't advanced as much, but the care given would have been better. She's just suffering with a tumor growing in her abdomen, and no one cares. No one looks at it. No one. It's just all like, no one asks her how she's feeling or anything. It's just, you go to sit in there, the doctor looks at the thing, click, click, click. If you even see him, sometimes it's over a television screen. I mean, this is just, it's just useless. It's useless. I'm a nurse. I was trained in psychiatry. I did rotations in all parts of medicine. I was trained in all aspects of medicine, and I can tell you that the medical field, the medical profession, or whatever you want to call it in Canada now, is just a farce. It's a joke. 15 years ago it was a joke, but now it's just, they're just going through the motions, and no one really is getting any help. People are just being given opiates, basically, to addict them and kill them off. Let them just die off with, you know. That's how it is. Not all pharmaceuticals are evil, and not all Western medicine is evil, but it has been corrupted. That is absolutely for sure. It has been corrupted, and it's being used for evil now. Big Pharma is out of control. Money controls how people are cared for in Canada and most of the world now. And that's just pointing to a greater problem. The whole entire system is failed. That's what I originally started that rant on. That the whole system has failed. It's not just that, it's everything. It's not working anymore. There's maybe some remnants of the courts that are still fair, and maybe some aspects of smaller, like, local governments and stuff. And, you know, the whole thing is just fucked. Let's just say it. The whole thing is fucked. Everything. It's not worth continuing. And I think that's kind of the powers that be's plan anyway. It's to bring about some kind of new system. But you know what? I think we don't have to wait for that. I think we have the ability now with blockchain technology on our side, and Steemit and Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies, and people being their own banks now. I'm seeing the power of it now, unlike I was able to see it even when I was advocating for this stuff back in 2011, when no one had heard of it. Now I'm saying, oh my God, this is the way that we can create a new society. It is. I can see a way that we could structure an entire society built similar to the blockchain technology that's used on Steemit. And just from learning about that and seeing how it works and seeing how it could be extrapolated and scaled up is amazing, because and also the lateral scalability is huge too. There's so much development being done on this, and where it can go in the next even 4 or 5 years, I think we could have an entire new economy built by that point, easily. We could easily do that, and it would be cheap. It would be cheap to do, relatively, and it could be open source, and it could be transparent, and the people themselves can take part in it. You know, this is not to say that heaven on earth is coming, but this is to say that heaven on earth is possible. So just keep that in mind. Don't automatically negate that. Don't say, oh, that's too far-fetched or whatever. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to all of us. We all need to believe that a good future is possible. Otherwise, we're probably not going to get there. Have you ever achieved anything that you didn't at least believe was possible? Very, very rarely does something just land in your lap. The first thing that you have to do to achieve something is to believe that it's possible. And then to set your goals and to, you know, all those other steps that you need to do to get there. But you do have to believe that it is possible. If you don't think it's possible, then you are most likely going to succeed at what you believe, which is that it's not going to happen. So believe that a good future is possible for all of us. Don't say, well, that's just wishful thinking, or that's dream talk, or that's just magic Christmas land, or whatever you want to call it. That is possible. We can structure society based on blockchain, or something similar to blockchain that is soon and yet to be developed. But things are moving quickly, and freedom is powerful. So let's just rock out to some 80s music. Let's just think about when times made a little more sense. Maybe it wasn't the 80s for you. Throw on some good old 60s music if you're a little bit older. Come on, I can get down with some of that too. And let's just imagine a happier future. And with blockchain, Steemit, DTube, and all those amazing technologies we have, and what's coming out of those soon, is amazing, and it's for the people, and it's legitimate, it's grassroots. And I am so excited. I'm going to stop it there, but I will talk to you guys soon.